can't believe my boyfriend left me for his coworker. Let me explain. Have you ever had one of those moments where the universe seems to drop a fairy tale right into your lap? Well, let me tell you about my crazy trip to Paris. It wasn't just about the Eiffel Tower, croissants, or the dreamy Seine River, although those were amazing. No, this story is about the most unexpected, heart-racing, plot-twisting connection I've ever experienced. To set the stage, I have to tell you that this trip to Paris was supposed to be something entirely different. It was supposed to be a romantic getaway with my now ex-boyfriend, a trip where I thought he might propose. Instead, just 2 weeks before we were set to leave, he dropped a bombshell. He was in love with his coworker. I always felt like there was something between them, but I decided to trust him. Wrong decision, apparently. What a way to end a 6-year-long relationship, and just like that, the life I thought I was building came crashing down. Mia, my best friend, stepped in and convinced me not to cancel the trip. "Paris is the city of love," she said. "Maybe it'll help you find yourself again." I wasn't sure about finding myself, but I knew I couldn't sit at home wallowing. So there I was, heartbroken, boarding a plane to Paris with Mia, trying to piece myself back together. It all started at the airport, which, for the record, I've always found the least romantic place in the world. The fluorescent lights, the endless security lines, and the overpriced sandwiches, not exactly the backdrop for a love story. But then I saw him. He was standing a few gates down from me, casually leaning against a wall, scrolling on his phone. Dark hair, sharp jawline, and, I kid you not, the kind of eyes that could launch 1,000 ships. I nudged Mia, who was busy scrolling through TikTok. "Mia," I whispered, trying to be subtle. "Look, over there." She glanced up briefly. "Oh, wow. He's cute. Go talk to him." "What? No, are you insane?" I hissed. "Okay, well, stop staring like a creep then," she said with a smirk, returning to her phone. Great advice. I decided to distract myself by reading the gate information screen, but I couldn't completely get distracted. He looked so handsome, in his airport outfit and looking completely not interested. I wasn't sure if I liked him or I made myself like him to stop thinking about my stupid ex. Fate had other plans. Turns out we were on the same flight to Paris. I discovered this when I boarded and spotted him sitting just a few rows ahead of me. My heart did this ridiculous little somersault, and I spent the next 15 minutes staring out the window, pretending I hadn't noticed him. What is happening to me? I haven't felt this kind of butterflies since my ex first started dating. Somewhere over the Atlantic, I felt it. That unmistakable sensation of being watched. I turned my head slightly and caught him looking at me. Not a casual glance either. This was the kind of look that makes your cheeks flush and your brain short-circuit. I managed a shy smile. And he smiled back. The rest of the flight was a blur of stolen glances and suppressed giggles with Mia, who by now had taken on the role of my personal cheerleader. "He's definitely into you," she whispered. "You're basically living a rom-com right now." About 20 minutes before landing, he did it. He stood up. My heart was pounding so loudly I was sure Mia could hear it. He started walking down the aisle, and for a split second, I thought he might actually come over. And then the pilot's voice came on. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're beginning our descent into Paris. Please return to your seats and fasten your seatbelts." He hesitated, glanced back at his seat, and turned around. Just like that, the moment was gone. I couldn't believe it. The universe had dangled this perfect meet-cute in front of me, only to snatch it away at the last second. It was so annoying, but so on brand for me. When we landed, I lost sight of him in the chaos of baggage claim. To make matters worse, my smaller suitcase was nowhere to be found. I filed a claim with the airline, but they couldn't promise anything. So there I was, stranded in Paris without my bag, feeling miserable. I'd lost the cute boy and my luggage in one fell swoop. Our trip to Paris is already disappointing, and we haven't even arrived. In the next few days, every time someone with a similar build or hair color passed by, my heart would race, only for the disappointment to hit when it wasn't him. Mia noticed my distracted mood, her usually lighthearted comments falling flat as I barely managed to respond. At lunch, she'd try to tease me out of it, suggesting maybe I was chasing a fantasy, or that there were plenty of other interesting people to meet. "You can't expect everything to turn into a fairy tale," she'd say with a wink, though I could tell she was trying to keep things light for my sake. Sometimes, though, she was more serious. You can't let one encounter keep you stuck like this. If he was meant to be in your life, he'll show up again. But if not, you can't keep waiting around for something that may never happen. Her voice softened as she continued. You deserve to focus on yourself and enjoy where you are, with or without him. But despite her best efforts, I still felt a pull, a nagging feeling that kept me wondering if I'd somehow missed a sign or chance. And then, just as I was beginning to think I'd imagined the whole thing, my phone buzzed. It was a notification from my ex-boyfriend. "Hey, I miss you," it said. "Paris was supposed to be our trip. Can we talk, please?" I stared at the screen in disbelief. The audacity! Before I could respond, or more accurately, delete the message, another notification popped up. This one stopped me in my tracks. It was a follow request on Instagram. From him, the guy from the airport. My heart raced as I opened his profile. It was private, but his bio mentioned London and a love for travel. How had he found me? Then I realized I'd posted a photo earlier that day and tagged Paris. He must have seen it and taken a chance. I accepted the request and immediately checked his profile again, trying to piece together his story. The next day, he liked one of my Instagram stories. My heart leapt. The butterflies are going crazy in my stomach and my knees felt weak. "He's testing the waters," Mia said when I showed her, eyes wide. I checked obsessively to see if he'd viewed my stories or left another like. But nothing else happened. I was confused. Was he waiting for me to text him? What should I do? Mia even tried to convince me to message him first, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. My mind was a storm. Half on him and half on the audacious text from my ex-boyfriend, who'd said he missed me and wanted to talk. Then, on day before our last day in Paris, as I was still debating what to do, a notification popped up. A message from him. "I hope this isn't too forward, but were you on the New York to Paris flight last week?" I replied instantly. "I was. I've been hoping to run into you again." I felt so stupid after hitting send. Was this too much? Do I sound desperate? After that, his reply came. We texted for a while about Paris, favorite shops, and our plans for the next day. He left me undelivered, and I thought this is how our story ends. He doesn't like me, I guess. Fast forward to our last day in Paris. Mia and I were at a bookshop near Notre Dame, browsing through dusty shelves of old novels and postcards. I had just picked up a vintage map when I heard a voice behind me. "Excuse me, do you speak English?" I turned around, and there he was. It took me a second to process it, like my brain couldn't quite believe what my eyes were seeing. But it was him. Yes, I do," I stammered, immediately cursing myself for sounding like an idiot. He smiled, and I swear the entire bookshop seemed to get brighter. "I'm sorry to bother you, but I think we were on the same flight a few days ago. I wanted to say hi, but the timing didn't work out." "Yeah, I remember," I said, trying to play it cool. Spoiler, I failed miserably. "I'm Alex," he said, holding out his hand. "Nice to meet you, Alex. I'm Emma." For the next few minutes, we talked like we'd known each other forever. He was from London, but visiting New York and Paris for a work conference, he had decided to extend his stay for some sightseeing. He even joked about how he'd been wandering around the city hoping to bump into me. "You were looking for me?" I asked, half joking. "Guilty," he admitted, his cheeks turning slightly pink. Just as I was starting to think this was the perfect ending to my Parisian adventure, things took an unexpected turn. Alex glanced at his watch and frowned. "I'd love to keep talking, but I'm actually running late for something. Can I take you to dinner tonight? My treat. I promise I'm not a weirdo." Before I could answer, Mia swooped in, holding a stack of books. "Dinner sounds great," she said, grinning at me. Emma loves food. That evening, Alex took me to a charming little bistro tucked away in a quiet corner of the city. The conversation flowed effortlessly, and for the first time in days, I felt like I could finally exhale. But just as dessert arrived, he got serious. "There's something I should tell you," Alex said, looking suddenly serious. My heart sank. Was he married? Engaged? "I accidentally took your bag at the airport," he confessed, pulling a familiar-looking carry-on from under the table. My jaw dropped. "Wait, what? How? They looked identical. He said, "I didn't realize until I got to my hotel. I've been carrying it around hoping to find you." It was insane. Out of all the bags in the world, he'd grabbed mine and then actually found me in a city of over 2 million people. I burst out laughing. This is officially the most ridiculous thing that has ever happened to me. "So you're not mad?" he asked, looking relieved. "No," I said, grinning, "but you owe me another dessert." When the trip ended and we both returned home, me to New York and Alex to London, we decided to give long distance a try. For a few months, it worked. We texted constantly, had late-night video calls, and even managed to meet up once in a while. But eventually, the distance proved too much. Life pulled us in different directions, and we reluctantly decided to part ways. Even though it didn't last, I wouldn't trade that Parisian adventure for anything. Sometimes people come into your life to remind you that magic still exists, even if only for a little while. And who knows, maybe one day the universe will bring Alex and me back together. Stranger things have happened. If you like this story, don't forget to like and subscribe. This was a story sent from one of our viewers. Your story can be turned into a video too. Feel free to send an email to travelplanner1@gmail.com. See you in the next video.